What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Totski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece treasure cruise video, and today we're going to be having a look at the latest treasure map versus Lucci and Kaku. And of course, you know, this is going to be a pretty difficult treasure map, as they always are these days. But what I will say is that if you do have a pretty good array of the treasure map legends that are pre-existing, then I do think you're going to have a decent time in this TM. While you're not going to have like the highest point boost or anything, I do think that the team building for this event is a little easier than we've had in the last couple of TMs, but obviously that does stem from the fact that if you do have some of those other older TM legends, that is, characters like, you know, Carrot Nami or Nami Karina or Bon Clay, stuff like that, I think you're going to have an easier time in this TM. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the teams that I have for you guys to actually build against this event. So we're moving on to our first Battle Rush boss, which is against Esper. This is a very strange fight. They do recommend you to use the Zoro from the Grand Feast Sugo Fest, but it's really weird because if you actually have a look at the quest guide for this event, it does mention here that on the final battle that there's 10 turns of special reverse, there is going to be immunity, and there is a Wano slot barrier. You need to hit him with one Wano slot in order to break it, and it also says that it will reduce damage taken for one turn from any type of slot by 99%. So normal attacks don't do anything on the first turn, and he has special reverse, so you can't really use specials, but they do suggest this Zoro. So my thinking is that the Esper has 500,000 HP at the start of the battle. I don't think he's going to scale. I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like they really want you to use this Zoro with his special ability, which you can see right at the bottom here, that it will do 100 times his attack and int damage to all enemies at the end of the turn for every turn. So my thinking is that he's going to give himself the Wano slot. We're going to use his captain ability, which generates his special at the start of the quest, and then you basically just use his end of turn damage to kill. I also just have a Hiyori and a Yamato on this team in order to trigger the super type or the super class of Zoro. I'm not too sure if that is an essential part for this team, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be the way forward. If it ends up being that Esper actually scales, then this team is not going to work. But it's very interesting, a very weird boss fight to start things off in this treasure map. Moving on to our second boss, which is going to be versus S Shark, who is a quick boss, so you predominantly want Dex focused characters for this fight. Now, this is the fight where they recommend you to use 6+ Crocodile, the one that just came out, and while that is good, I do recommend to use him later on in the event because he's a very good captain in terms of damage output, so I do think it is better to use it for the final boss and the intrusion boss. But this time around, this team should get the job done. Now, there are free spaces here to be a little bit more flexible to do what you want to do. Now, what happens is that when you enter this stage, he does a 75% health cut, he gives you 6 turns of paralysis, which is why we have the support of Mr. 1 and Rayleigh. That's going to remove those once we use our specials. And then there's also going to be a chain attack down and a chain coefficient reduction. So the way that we're getting around that is by using the special ability of Bon Clay, will trigger the ability to use the super type. The super type ability will give you a 3.25 times chain lock, and that's going to be really powerful. So you can just go ahead and transform him into a Dex character. You can then use his special ability to get a full border matching slot and a base attack boost. That super type will give you super type for all of your Dex characters and allow you to get around the chain debuffs. Also, the special ability of Bon Clay gives you a full board of recovery slots, will be treated as beneficial because it will allow you to get around those block and empty slots that are going to be given to your team. The only other thing that you can't get around is the burn, so you do have to use more specials. So we do have the Kamazo and the Luffy. Both of these character specials together will enable you to remove that burn. We also have Luffy, which grants an attack boost. Kamazo gives you an orb boost. So overall, this team, just with this combo, does get around everything. So there's 2 free slots to basically put whatever you want. If you don't have the supports to remove the paralysis, you can use those 2 extra slots to just grant you paralysis removal, so that's another way that you can get around it. So yeah, a pretty comfortable team. Obviously Bon Clay kind of carries this, but you know, gets the job done, that's for sure. Okay, moving on to our next boss, which is going to be versus S-Snake. So on this fight, even though this is a Dex focused boss, I am using the Gear 5 Luffy team just because Gear 5 allows you to get around the defensive effects really easily. I was basically building around all of the other gimmicks, and then I kind of realized that I'm running a lot of Straw Hats. If I just use Luffy as the captain, then I kind of can get around all of the defensive effects anyway. So the thing is you don't have to use Gear 5 for this specific team. It's just the fact that we have Robin, and then the support of the free-to-play Frenosuke allows us to get around all of the attack down. We have the Brook, which gets around the threshold with double special launch. And then we also have this Sanji. Now, you could also replace this Sanji with the free-to-play Sai Sanji. He gets around the 2 turns of damage nullification. The only time he gets around it, though, is you do need to have a Luffy on your team or a Luffy as a support character on the Sanji. But if you have a Luffy on the team, when you use the special ability of this Robin, it's going to give you a defense down on the enemy and a 1.75 times defense down conditional boost. And also, if you have a Luffy on the team, Brook's special will allow you to inflict increased damage taken on the opponent. So all of these benefits happen if you have a Luffy on the team. So you could replace this Gear 5 Luffy with basically whatever you want. These characters here, if you just, as I said, replace this guy with the Sai Sanji, that will allow you to get around basically everything in this stage, so long as you have a Luffy on the team in order to trigger the beneficial effects of the other characters. And then when you activate the special of both Robin and Sanji, they'll change adjacent slots into matching, so you get a full board of matching slots as well. So this team actually really works. Just Gear 5, you're not particularly needed. You can replace it with basically any other Luffy, or have a different captain and have a Luffy as your final spot. That will enable you to get around this event pretty easily, though we don't have type advantage, so putting some type of strength focused character on this team may also be a pretty good way to get around it too. Okay, so now we are on to the S-Hawk fight. So S-Hawk is going to be a pretty tricky one, but this team should get the job done. So in terms of the gimmicks, well, I guess one thing we should probably mention as well is that the friend captain for this team, we want it to be Nami and Karina, and you want to start it as Nami. So that is kind of important that you have that. And then what happens is when we reach the final stage, we do have this Rob Lucci. Now, the reason why I've chosen this Rob Lucci is because he gets cooldown from this event because he is an int character. And also, another thing about him is that he does have the potential ability to give him 3 turns of cooldown at the start of the quest. So it just enables him to be ready when you need him, especially if you have cooldown sockets, and especially if you have a ship that gives you more cooldown, he should be ready to go when you reach the final stage. Because what happens is all the characters on your left side of your crew get 6 turns of special bind, which Rob Lucci can deal with. I believe he can deal with. Let me just double check that. Pretty sure he can deal with the 6 turns of special bind. I could be absolutely clowning myself right now. Yes, he does. Yes, okay, that's good. That's important. Okay, so he gets around that. He gives you chain buffs as well, which is good. And then the right side of your crew, 4 turns of special reverse. Now, what happens is when we switch into Karina for the friend captain, we can use that special ability after the character's special bind is gone to give 2 turns of cooldown. Kuzan special gives 2 turns of cooldown, which means everyone is ready. So you can use the special ability of both your captain and your friend captain. You get an attack boost, you get an orb boost, you remove the increased defense on the enemy side of the field, and because you activate these super switches, you are generating a lot of G slots, which is nice. So you're able to basically just get heaps of damage on this team, because there is an attack down if you use any type of slots for type slots. So being able to generate G slots allows you to get around that as well. Law is on this team is because he's just a Dex character that will have type advantage. You can replace Law with whatever you want. The final spot on the crew you can replace with whatever you want. But this team should be able to get the job done whilst actually outputting a pretty decent amount of damage. Now we get to have a look at the final boss, which is versus Lucci and Kaku. So of course, no surprise, the friend captain that I'm suggesting here is going to be the new legend Stussy in order to get the job done. And then in terms of the characters that get cooldown, it is strength, quick, and int characters. Pretty cool. We actually get to use some characters that I have not personally used in a very, very long time, such as the Nami Shinobu raid and also raid Kobe Meppo. But they all serve purposes here. Okay, so key things to note in terms of characters that you want to start with. You want to start with Helmeppo, and you want to start with Carrot as these dual units. Now, when we move into stage 2, there is going to be cooldown reduction, special reverse, should I say, to all characters, which is why we have the Carrot special to deal with that, as well as giving us an orb boost, which is pretty nice. Now, there is also going to be a full board of block slots, which is where we would use the Crocodile super type. Another thing to kind of note is that we are using the Moby Dick ship. It doesn't have to be upgraded, it just has to be the base form of the ship, which starts our HP at 50%. That's kind of important because when we actually have a look at the if I could actually hold on him real quick, if we actually have a look at Crocodile's superclass, it will activate when you have one of the characters on the crew, or when your HP is 50% or below. So by starting with the Moby Dick ship, it is going to start with that threshold, allowing us to use that that super type, which is important, or the super class, because it does change the block slots, which is good. And then, of course, so on this stage, we'd use the super type of Croc, we would use Carrot special, and then Crocodile special. So Crocodile will give us just big damage, as well as removing the paralysis on this stage as well. And then using his special after using that super type means that we get the buffed version of his special, meaning it's going to give us 3 turns of chain boundary, which is going to carry over to the next stage as well. There is a good barrier, so you need to hit 2 goods before you kill that boss, but you can do that without too many hassles. We move on to the final stage. There's a lot of things going on, but what we would do is we'd activate the Stussy special first. Stussy special will go ahead and remove the enemy's barrier. It's going to provide us with a lot of damage output, which is good. There is going to be special reverse on this stage as well, but with Carrot and Wanda and how they work, we are going to be able to use their special again, which is still going to give us -1 turn of cooldown, which is kind of important that we have that. And it also does grant another bonus for our crew, another orb boost, which is good. So we activate their special on stage 2, and we'll have this special for stage 3 in order to deal with the special reverse. Then we would go ahead and use the Stussy special, which is important, which is going to remove a bunch of debuffs, delay them, give us a delayed conditional boost. We also have then the Nami and the Shinobu special, which is going to give us a color affinity boost, but also it's going to remove 2 turns of despair. We have the Brook support, which removes a further 2 turns of despair. And then one of our characters on our bottom row is going to be blown away, which is going to happen on stage 2. Now, it doesn't matter which one gets blown away, we are able to still get through this. Whether it be Blackbeard with the support of Lafitte will remove a further 2 turns of despair. If Blackbeard is blown away, then we have Helmeppo and Kobe. Their special will give an attack boost to our int characters, but then the support of the Opera will remove a further 2 turns of despair. So no matter which one gets blown away, it doesn't matter, you will still be able to get the job done. Technically, you will get more damage if Helmeppo is the character to stay alive, but it is what it is, you know, we don't control these things. So that's basically it. You use the Carrot special again, we use the Nami special, we use the Stussy special, and then either Blackbeard or Helmeppo will save us with the other 2 turns of despair, and then we kill. And that's how this team is going to get the job done. Hopefully it gives us a good amount of damage. We'll have the conditional boost, color affinity boost, orb boost. It should be okay, but we'll see how things go. You know, things can get crazy, of course. Just, you know, preemptively thinking about how this works, I think it should be okay, but I guess we'll see how it happens. And then we make our way to the intrusion battle. Once again, the friend captain is going to be the new Sugofest exclusive Stussy. A thing about this team is you want to start this dual unit of Carrot and Nami as the Carrot form. Now, as we start this fight, when we enter stage 2, there's going to be like a bunch of different debuffs happening. There's going to be like a bunch of bind. There's going to be limit special usage. There's going to be your slots are changed into bomb slots, locked slots. You can only do 85% of the enemy's damage on the first turn. So you actually have to take 2 turns on stage 2, which is kind of frustrating actually. The way that we're going to get through this is we're going to initially activate Stussy special, which is going to remove, well actually, I kind of mistook that. First of all, we're going to super swap with Carrot and Nami. And then we're going to use the Nami special, which will remove the bind. It gives us a full board of matching slots, gives us chain boundary as well. It just gives us a lot of damage, right? Then we activate the Stussy special, which will remove the bleed debuff. It's going to remove a bunch of different stuff, so we don't have to worry about, you know, taking too much damage. And then we kill. Well, we do as much damage as we can, 85% of the enemy's HP. Then on the secondary turn, that's when we would activate the Jinbei special. Now, Jinbei is a bit of a weird addition to this team, but basically what Jinbei does is that he just reduces a bunch of damage that we would take. So anything that exceeds 5,000 is just reduced significantly, and that's important so that we can maintain as much HP as possible. And then when we actually kill, we would move on to stage 3. Stage 3, Orochi and Kanjuro. There is a gimmick where if your HP is below 80%, you get given 6 turns of a super burn and 3 turns of hunger, which is really brutal. So we want to stay above the 80% threshold when we enter the final stage. Another thing is that we would activate on stage 3, that is, we would activate the Crocodile superclass. Now, you don't have to activate Crocodile superclass if you have the Brûlé support, which is what I'm saying here. So either you have the Brûlé support or you have to activate the Crocodile superclass. You do not need Brûlé on this team, but because there is inflicted with a pain debuff after the first turn of stage 2, that pain debuff might be a little annoying, but, you know, with the way that Stussy works, I think she will auto-trigger her special when you move into the next stage, so I'm pretty sure it should be okay, but we'll have to wait and see exactly how that works. Now, we would then also go ahead and activate the Inazuma special. Now, people might be wondering, why the hell is this guy here? Some random character, ID number 677. This guy is a character that has 4 turns of cooldown at the start of the quest with his potential ability. He has a relatively good cooldown, and this basically does the same thing as the Jinbei, where it just reduces a bunch of damage that you would take, which is kind of important as well, because we are going to be taking another death hit on stage 3. It's 150,000, so this is going to reduce it significantly and allow us to tank it, and he is also getting cooldown in this event, and he's also a cerebral unit which works with both Stussy Captain and the Crocodile Captain, so that's the reason Inazuma is selected here. So he's going to allow us to tank a bunch of damage. We also have the Pythagoras special here. Now, Pythagoras doesn't really do anything too crazy here. The main reason why he is here is just because it's a character that has type advantage against the boss and is boosted by both captains. That's basically the only reason why this character is here. So when we enter stage 3, just a little bit of a reiterate, we're going to activate the Crocodile Superclass or have the Brûlé support. We have Inazuma special, we have Crocodile special to give us attack boost, chain boundary, all that good stuff, and then the Pythagoras special as well. Pythagoras could be replaced with, you know, anything that just helps you in this event do more damage, right? So hopefully this does work as intended. It's going to be really interesting to see whether it does work as we think. We may have to shift some things around. I'm not 100% sure how it is going to actually work. You know, in theory, things are really hard to determine until we actually jump into the content to see how things interact. But in theory, I think this should be okay, but we'll see what happens as we move forward into this treasure map. With all that being said, though, that will wrap it up from me today. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.